time to get into the last of the Game Masters book, and this one is on legendary dragons. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind for me is the Dragonlance campaign setting, because that's based on pretty much the whole books and series and everything is based on dragons. So this one basically gives you the Game Master or DM ideas for introducing like unique dragons in your campaign or everything. And so as you can see here, it goes down through the table of contents, different names of the actual unique legendary dragons that you can use. So this is pretty much like where most of the book is compiled. So now it does also get into a realm of dragons. So like basically like you could in a sense run a whole dragon-based campaign with this book and everything, sort of like Dragonlance. So you don't necessarily need to use the Dragonlance campaign set. You could use this book to run your own and everything with using one of these many different legendary dragons, or you could use all of them and everything. So, and of course, like the other ones, they do got the one-shot adventures and everything that you can use as well. So after a brief forward and everything, it actually does the introduction as well, and then it actually gets into these legendary dragons. So what it does is it offers like a picture for each one, and then it gets into like the description, and like it gives like a the whole description. It gives like stats for each one. So like the dragons, the pictures and everything of these are are all so cool and everything. So I won't go into much detail for the actual descriptions on them, because and pictures like this, fans of Lord of the Rings would probably remember the dragons in Middle Earth and everything. So pictures like this kind of portray images and so the same thing like this one. People will probably remember the black dragon that was even bigger than Smaug, who was the most famous of the dragons in Lord of the Rings. So a couple pictures like that, like I said, kind of reminds me of Lord of the Rings. And of course you also got them in human form too. So they're, of course, like I said, people know dragons are notorious for polymorphing, so they can in a sense hide themselves in their true nature and everything. So each in a sense section for each one is kind of the same, because they give a description and details and stats and everything. So I'm probably going to focus more on the actual artwork and everything for each one, so people can get a good glimpse and of them, and so that they can get, and so you can see here kind of one that's on the cover right here. So good old Ilazini. I'm probably butchering the name, so people can always correct me and stuff like that. So I've always been bad in pronunciation of names and everything. So and here's another example. You could in a sense see maybe Mistress, or how this one polymorphs into human form or elf form or whatever you want. And so the artwork, it definitely gives you a whole slew of ideas for ways to run it and everything. So of course, people familiar with Norse mythology probably remember Jormungandr, the Rust Serpent. So you can always make your Thor character to go up against him and everything. So and good old Shadow Dragon right there. So each one of these kind of good old bookworm type of dragon. So like I said, I'm kind of concentrating on the artwork for these. So the gold dragons are pretty much based on Chinese mythology for dragons and everything. So because each of these sections is kind of pretty much similar. Like I said, gives the description, gives the whole stats and and abilities and stuff for each of one of them. So the pictures are probably where at least this section really shines, because it really gives you nice detailed descriptions of the pictures and stuff of each dragon and everything. So and your imagination can run wild even without the stats, and it was just the pictures and everything. So like you could take the pictures. Oh, hey, I remember seeing this and everything. I'm going to make a dragon based off that and everything. And so like this whole first section is like obviously like the longest part, as you can see in the table of contents, because like this gives you a whole like a slew of like individual legendary dragons that you can use. One, a few, many, all, or even none, or you can just like use stuff that's like based off of this and everything. So like you don't necessarily have to. So like what's great is like the DM is like you can always being a step or two ahead of your players. If they end up reading this book, you can always like throw them for a loop and everything. And, like I said, with the campaigns going one way, you want it to go one way, and you want to go like right, and the players go left, and it's the same kind of concept and everything. So like PCs may read this book and are expecting like dragons to be a certain way, and then like you just flip the script and like totally like do something totally different and everything, just to keep them on their toes. So and second guessing themselves and everything. So like and now I read I started reading Dragonlance when I was a kid, so I've always been big on dragons myself, and so like that's what I think what I like about this book is it gives you like the whole the tools necessary to not just necessarily run Dragonlance campaign. It's kind of use this as like maybe a backdrop for it, but run your own version of like a Dragonlance or a dragon-based campaign as well. And so like you could, in a sense, sparse your world with all these different legendary dragons. So like kind of flipping through real quick just to get the artwork and everything. So like you kind of get like with this one like a earth elemental type of vibe and everything. So like you can even like run themes like that with elemental based and everything. And then like with getting into like a realm of dragons, the chapter, which is the one of the shorter ones, you can actually like run like dragon based characters and everything. So like dragon riders, like just like in Dragonlance, and it gives a whole detailed description of each class and everything. So like it also lets you do like a multi-classing, lets you have like a dragon companion, and like gets into the actual like combat of like here like the dragon maneuvers, like of how like you can do dragon combat and everything. And so it like I said, this definitely gives you a whole all the tools you need to be able to run like a dragon based campaign and everything. So like Wardrake and stuff like this, like what comes to mind is the desert campaign, like for Dark Sun campaign. I'm sure like a lot of people that are familiar with second edition remember that. And so like it also gives like the little monsters, like just like all the other books. So that way you get in a sense like even more monsters to be able to run, not just have these as dragon based campaign specific, but you could also like in a sense use these in just about any campaign set. And of course like goes into further detail, like sort of like characters like that you could in a sense think of like the Draconians from the Dragonlance campaign. Of course like kobolds are like as you can see here, they tend to be like considered descendants of dragons themselves and everything. So like and they give races you can not just kobolds, but they can see here Draken, and gives you a whole like a set of like mutations and stuff, so you can run like a whole pretty much unique characters, and like you could run like a whole like a party based on just those and everything. So and it gives you details on how to do that and everything. And of course one of the most famous dragon cults is probably like the Cult of the Dragon in the Forgotten Realms, which wants to raise like all dragons as Dracoliches and everything. So like this actually gets into something like gives you details to do something like that, if not as similar as possible and everything. Like, so it gives you even further ammunition to be able to like run these dragon-based campaigns and everything with just this book as an add-on. So, or like you could add this into any existing campaign setting as well, like I said. And so it goes into details of like the different age groups of the actual dragons, and gives them like a detailed information on weight, height, and like all their abilities and stuff. So, and of course, you also have like spells that you can do using just the dragon components and everything. So like for those spells that require actual items and everything to be able to instead of just gestures or or whatever, or like words, you actually need physical items to be able to cast and everything. This gives you ideas for using stuff that items that you maybe you slay Smaug the dragon like in Lord of the Rings, and you can use some of his skills and stuff to be able to start casting spells or something. So that gives you ideas for that. And it goes into even further detail of aerial combat, and you can even create airships, sort of what you find in a lot of the Final Fantasy games. So that you can use the airship concept and everything along with just dragons themselves and everything. So this is definitely a good book for a whole like I said before, the whole dragon based campaign. So this would be the one book you would need to do just that and everything. So to build on the Dungeon Master Guide and the Monster Manual, and of course you also got as you can see here, the typical magical items that you get and everything. It gives you even more options for that, and of course then it gets into the last chapter pretty much gets into these one-shot adventures that you can use as kind of a springboards into a dragon themed campaign, or you can maybe jump use one of these to kind of as a springboard in between one campaign and another, or as kind of a side quest for a existing campaign that you're already running as well. So just like other books, with this, the options are only limited by your imagination and the willingness of the party to be able to go through this. And of course, this one does have an afterward kind of a final thoughts type of deal on the book. So this is the last book of the Game Master's guidebooks that are out there. And of course, it does have credits and I'd have to actually look into this Jetpack 7 because I know very little, if nothing, about this. So you could also check it out yourself and everything. So and drop in the comments and stuff on what you find out about this, because I know very little to nothing about this. So this could be a good talking point for everyone. So like I said, this is definitely this is the last book of the Game Master Guides book. And so it's definitely valuable if you want to run a campaign set based on Dragonlance or something similar. So if you're looking to do something like that, this one is definitely worth it, because as you can see, it gives you a slew of information and dragons that you can use to run the campaign. Either solely based on just the dragons and stuff in here, or you can insert these into Dragonlance or any campaign that you're already running.